Will Miami need an 8 lateral play to beat Duke? I'm surprised to hear that out of him.
I know, right? Simply put, no. I don't believe that Duke has what it takes to beat Miami this year. They do have, Manny Diaz is their coach. And so I know that there's going to be a measure of grudge match there. He himself asked about it yesterday, said to the assembled press at Duke that he's at peace with his journey. He has moved on. When asked about the relationship between he and Manny Diaz on Monday, Mario Cristobal said, he's been a coach for a long time, as have I. So, we've crossed paths with each other in a couple of stops, but I wouldn't say that I'm friendly with him. I know him and everything, but that's pretty much it. So, I'm aware of who he is, basically, which is, coach speak for, the Mariah Carey. I don't know her. And I know that Manny, he wants to put that face forward, but he's like, I forget what show it's from. Was like, oh man, I pity you, or like whatever. And then the response is, I don't think about you. And that's pretty much what it is. And like, we have to be real about it. Like, Manny was average-ish here, right? And it was his first head coaching job. And we all said, like, that is probably going to be the thing, if it doesn't work out, that's going to get him. Everybody doesn't hit it running smoothly their first time as a head coach. Rhett Lashlee at SMU seems to be in a good spot, but remember, SMU was a step down in a lower conference before stepping up into like the big leagues, right? So he got a couple years kind of on the outskirts of the periphery of the G5 before stepping it up. Manny Diaz stepped into, straight from driver's ed into, the most rare Ferrari in the world. Like, hey, there's a difference there. And yes, Miami actively evaluated him and said, we're going to get rid of you for him. So you can't sit here and be like, oh, well, everything is roses and rainbows and sunshine and everything. And there's no, we're humans. I know that you feel some kind of a way. And that's okay. But also, for Mario Cristobal, other people's opinion to me is none of my business. Like, that had shit to do with me. It didn't. Like, they came to me about a job that I spoke here. I didn't go and then say, I'm going to call Manny, say, oh, you can da-da-da-da. Hey. Your opinion to me is none of my business, right? And my getting this job is none of your business, respectfully. And so I get that he's saying the right things, but like, this is a competitive sport. And for Manny Diaz just to be like, oh, everything is fine. That's what you should say in public. But behind closed doors, that ain't what he's saying. And I'm cool with that. But I say all of that to say, a Manny Diaz coach team is going to be sound on defense. They do a lot of good things. They have some pretty decent players, with a couple who could even play like up at a very, very high, at Miami or like a higher FBS level, Power 4 level than Duke, who's a fine team, but like they're nobody's championship contenders. That offense doesn't have the range. And if you look at their success rates, if you look at their like raw stats and everything, yeah, I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up with Miami. And I think that, hey, they do have some personnel where they're going to try to stifle the passing game and leave too high safeties and, try to take the Florida State approach of, if you can run for 6 yards carry, then you'll beat us. Breaking news, Miami will be able to do that. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to come down to the last play. I don't think it's going to be any of the shenanigans from that 2015 game needed to win this game. I am not as confident this week that Miami will cover the large 21.5 point spread as I was against Florida State. I thought that was pretty much a name your score kind of a game type thing. And it was, they almost got the backdoor cover at the end with that late touchdown on that bullshit last drive. But yeah, I don't think that this is really, this should be a Miami by, 2 touchdowns or more, honestly.
So much like this SMU Pitt game that is extremely important this weekend, that is being relegated and hidden on the ACC network because the two brands don't size up similar on Saturday night past, we had Duke and SMU playing a really good game on the ACC network. So I had other priorities, did not watch the game, but I kept my eye on it because it was an important game. One team with one loss in the conference at the time, the other undefeated. And had Duke been able to close that out as they should have, of course, they had a dead on field goal at the gun to win the game. And boy, field goal kickers are important. They would be rolling into this one with one loss with the opportunity to knock Miami down for a tie. But that, again, is not the opportunity. So I went back and kind of skimmed through the game, went through the extended highlights to try to catch up on what was going on because I enjoy that type of situation, those kind of teams making a little bit of noise. SMU and Duke, and now SMU's in the driver's seat for themselves, at least not to get to the ACC championship game because that's out of their hands because you get these multi undefeated teams, but at least to continue to win throughout the conference. So anyway, it was a game in which they went to overtime and Duke lost 28-27, went for 2 on the touchdown. So you've got to either make a call on that decision. I guess that was the right thing to do. I don't have any criticism for going for broke and just trying to win the game right there. But so they fall in that one. And I was going to ask you about the Manny Diaz angle to this.
Yeah.
Because it is intriguing because you're right. He can't say anything else. You have to say that the job you're at is just the greatest job in the world. This is where you want to be. Why would you want to be anywhere else? This is where I want to be. And this journey's fine. Hey, everything's working out. But yeah, let's be honest, especially being a Florida guy.
I mean, Miami guy, his dad was, mayor of Miami and everything. So yeah. And I mean, the other thing I was going to say, just backing up on your point, had Duke won that game, this game is not a noon kick this upcoming week. Like they put all of the ACC games on 6-day holds last week, and they said, hey, we're going to wait and see what the results are before we place these games moving forward, and like, yeah, you want the bigger brands in premium placements. And, there's not really a night game slot. So they're like, hey, cool. Miami at noon then. National TV, ABC. It is going up against Ohio State, Penn State, which should be a night game whiteout at Penn State. But, whatever. Fox wants the big noon Saturday is the thing. And I'm like, it fits for the game. Like Michigan and Ohio State as a noon game every year, or most years. But like Ohio State, Penn State? Like Penn State at Wisconsin, bro, like, or something of that ilk. Those got night game written all over it for my entire life. And then it's like, well, we're going to switch these. I'm like, whatever. But hey, we got a national TV spot, and I think it would have been a different time slot had Duke been able to win, but they weren't able to do so. And so, yeah, now we got to start rooting for. I mean, look, if Miami wins out, I'm confident that Miami will be in the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it's a 3-way tie with Miami, SMU, and Clemson or Pittsburgh, but more likely Clemson being the 3 undefeated teams in conference. But yeah, I think that our ACC rooting guide comes out tomorrow morning. Mike Schiffman has been doing great with that since we've introduced that to talk about, who you should be rooting for in these games. And it's like, it's turning into not even rooting for teams, but rooting for other teams to lose. But yeah, I getting ahead of myself. If Miami handles business, I think that Miami will be fine.
Malik Murphy is Manny Diaz quarterback, of course. He put it up 48 times against SMU, almost 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. Yeah, they've got a nice little football team, but they are a bit overmatched in this one. Again, they will need Miami to play a C-, and they will have to be on top of their game for it to be a game. 21 points. That is pretty strong.
Big line. Yeah, and it opened up there pretty much everywhere. I think DraftKings opened at 19 and a half. Everybody else opened at either 20 and a half or 21, full stop. So, yeah, pretty big numbers there. Malik Murphy's fine. He is a big athletic kid. It'll be interesting to try to get him on the ground when, we get pressure on him. But he's not the most accurate, and he's definitely not the most mobile, which is a thing that has hurt Miami. If you look at Kyron Drones extending plays a little bit, even Tyler Shuck a little bit, even Fernando Mendoza a little bit, just moving just enough, to get away from, shoot, even the Florida State quarterbacks last week. Kromenoke, he was, you could see it when he's on the sideline, just these deer in the headlight, his eyes like anime character, like, whatever. But that's a big kid that can move, man. Now he wasn't the greatest thrower of the ball, thank goodness, especially because he didn't see Kentron Poitier wide open on 4th and 1 in the second quarter, I believe it was. But yeah, I think that he's okay. I think that Malik Murphy played one of his better games last week and everything. But in the words of Gabby Rudia, I like Miami here.
This Eli Pancol wide receiver, he had a big night. And again, I watched the extended highlights, and he was pretty impressive in this game. They went to him on the 2-point play, and there was a fight for the football, did not reel it in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Duke loses to SMU.